Simply Financial with Christopher Calandra, Certified Financial Planner, is an innovative, comprehensive, informative, and cutting-edge podcast that discusses financial topics ranging from personal finance, economics, politics, and personal growth. Simply Financial will cover intriguing and thought-provoking questions so that the listener can simply increase their financial IQ.
Welcome to the Simply Financial podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra. This is episode number 13 of season 3. With me in studio today, I have Matthew Oblon, or Matt Oblon, who I've known for, I probably should have looked this up, maybe 10 or 12 years. Over those years, we've had some really interesting conversations about money, and he has, I wouldn't say a unique view on money, but he's like the textbook unemotional views on money. And we've kicked around the last year or so him coming and being a guest on the show. I finally got him scheduled and here with me today. So, Matt, thanks much for coming in today.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
So, you've never been on a podcast before?
Never.
You don't seem nervous.
No, it's,
So, you saw the questions beforehand. I have an outline, and I'm really excited about this because some of these questions I really don't know the answer to. Mm-hmm. So, it'll be kind of neat, and then I want to build up to some of your views on investing in money, which I think are very good models for all of us to try and emulate. So to begin with, you're retired now. You retired a couple of years ago.
Yes.
But when you were growing up, what did you learn about money in your early years growing up?
Well, money was always tight growing up with me and the family. My mother and brothers and sisters. So I always, my father passed away when I was only a year old. So
wow.
That made it a little harder, and we struggled, very, very hard struggling. And so I always knew that money was very important, and I always had the opportunity to, anytime I had a dime or a quarter, I'd put it in the bank. I started out when I was in probably 4th grade. We opened up a little bank account through school, and I remember walking to the bank, downtown Meriden at the time, and depositing 10 cents. And then, it might look funny now, but I'm telling you, you start young like that.
Because it was the habit.
It was a habit. You get a nice habit going, and you just continue with that, and you just slowly watch, watch that dime grow into a quarter eventually, and then, as time goes on, the value of money. So
is that something that you saw from others? So it seems like my second question was going to be, I think you've covered it already, is that what kind of home did you grow up in? Was it wealthy, poor, middle class? It sounds like it skewed more on the
poorer side, yes,
especially
that's correct.
with
right.
Single mom.
Yep, single mom, right, yeah. So, it was just something that, in watching how my mother struggled to raise the 4 kids on virtually just Social Security from us, and then so it was really tough, and the house that we lived in was my father's house. It was a multifamily house, so we had other tenants that came in, and of course it was tough maintaining that house too.
Just out of curiosity, you said you're one of 4 siblings.
Yes. So
I'm going to guess you're the oldest or second oldest. Am I right?
Second oldest.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Second oldest. Yes. And so I just decided back then is that if I could help myself and maybe help others and help my mother too by saving, and that's what I did when I was starting young. So
you didn't really learn, like I mentioned, I used the word emulate in the opening. You really didn't model yourself emulating after someone. It was more of money is scarce. I don't want to live my life like that. And saving and building wealth is my way out of that.
Exactly right. That's exactly what I did. There was really nobody that, there was really a role model per se, that said, you should do this. I just decided that this is, something I needed to do, and continue doing that today.
So you seem like you're very disciplined with your money. So can you speak to us about money rules that you have in handling money and accumulating wealth? What kind of rules do you live by in terms of money?
Well, I always believe that, when you're starting to save money and starting to build your wealth is to take care of yourself first. If you could, when you save money or you have to pay bills, consider paying yourself as an investment.
Okay.
So you pay your mortgage, you pay your light bills, and all that. But if you can allocate so much money every time you're going to pay a bill to yourself and put it into a savings plan or investment, that's important. I think it just gives you that extra discipline to make sure that you're also taking care of yourself into your future.
So you're in your early 60s now. So I'm getting the sense, and I've always had the sense too, but you're reinforcing it, that if we had met in your 20s and we were talking about this stuff, that what you just described to me would have been in your belief system then too.
Correct. Right.
I mean, this has been consistent for a very long time.
Yeah, I never really swayed from it, to be honest with you. I always kept the rule of, making sure that, saving for the rainy day, and put the stuff away. Yeah, maybe at some point growing up, I maybe, could have done maybe a little bit more from, an enjoyment standpoint. But I always looked at, well, I got what I have today, and I don't need anything else right now, so I'm going to save it for the future, and someday I might need it, or someday I'll be able to live off of it.
Any other money rules that you could speak to? And pay yourself first. You're a living embodiment of that. I've read books that talk about that, but it seems to me from what you've shared with me over these years that, again, you embody that, and you've done it for a long time. Some people come to it later in life. Right. Some people never get to it. But any other money rules that you could think of?
Well, like I said, I don't believe in getting a lot of debt either.
Okay.
I believe that, afford what you can. Yes, mortgages are important, stuff like that, because that's build up. But the frivolous stuff, I choose not to go unless I have the money in cash. I won't buy it or really, go to the extreme.
Just out of curiosity, there's a very popular book. It's an older book now, The Millionaire Next Door, which in the financial services industry as a certified financial planner was a very powerful book because it gave the reader insights into who millionaires in this country are. And a lot of what the book talked about, it kind of defies what you would think. It's not the athlete, the actress, the trust fund baby for the most part.
Right.
It's more people like you that live sensible lives, pay themselves first, save for a rainy day, live beneath their means, careful with debt, things like that. Did you read that book?
I read it later on in life. But,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that, when I read it, I was like, oh, this is pretty much a little bit about me, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. There's a new one that came out that's, I forget what it's called, but it profiled 10,000 millionaires, and it just came out. I think it's Every Day of Millionaires. Okay. But I'm looking forward to checking that out, although it's probably just a lot of repetition.
Yeah, right.
Have any of these rules that you have, your views on money, now that, and I want to talk more about this in a moment, but now that you're in your early to mid-60s, have your views on money changed much over time? I know you already said that the pay yourself first has been consistent for decades, but as you've gotten older, and you're supposed to get wiser,
right?
Have any of your views on money changed as you've made your way?
No, not really. I don't think so. I'm still, I still believe, I still practice today as if I was in my early 20s and 30s trying to save for that next rainy day or for whatever, And that's, I know we'll probably talk about it a little bit later as far as in the retirement years. And that's one of the biggest factors I always struggled with over the last couple of years was, okay, now that I retired.
Sure. Yeah.
Now I have to use the money I've been saving.
Well, that is you led right into what I wanted to speak about because, having been a financial planner for a long time and met lots of people similar to you in some shape or form, is that it's difficult. Like you've said on a number of times already in just the 8 or 9 minutes we're recording, that save for a rainy day. But now you retired at 61, right?
Correct.
So it was about 2 years ago. Not to give away your age to everybody listening. So you're 63 now. So it's an adjustment. If you saved in your 20s for a rainy day, and you saved in your 30s for a rainy day, and you saved in your 40s and 50s, and now you're in your 60s and you've retired.
Correct.
And we're not going to give away all the nitty-gritty details, but you've done well for yourself. You're comfortable. You have a secure income and a secure retirement. How does... You mentioned your views haven't changed, but I think they kind of have to change now over the next few years, no?
Yeah, I think they, in that respect, yes. In the sense that, you got, right now is what your money's working for yourself, for me now. I'm not working for money. My money's working for me, Before, you get a job and you get paid, and now my money's working for me, so I look and say, okay, what I need is I'll just withdraw whatever I need at the time, and I don't go crazy at it.
But if you withdrew, have you withdrawn any money from your nest egg since retirement?
Very, very little.
Okay, so was it weird?
Very weird.
Because you've never done that, right?
Never did. Never
like
did
you would
that.
put in, it's essentially...
once I deposited my money, it was in the vault and never came out.
Yes, and you're so disciplined.
Very disciplined.
Okay, so now you're not taking it out because it's raining.
Right.
There's no crisis.
No.
It's more lifestyle choice.
Yeah, right, true.
But that's a big...
Oh, it is big, yeah. And I, like I said, for the last year and a half, I pretty much was struggling with it, Before I retired, I kept some money in cash outside of my investments just so I can...
just to kind of pre-plan.
Just to pre-plan, so I've been living off of that, So, and just waiting, that when that runs out, I'll be starting to tap into my investments. And, of course, you're going to have to eventually, at age 70, start taking money anyways. But, and then... be able to, do things I want to do with it, maybe,
So you think you'll be able to adjust to, you retired at 63, healthy, there's, I imagine, things that you would like to do, they call it the bucket list, whether that's traveling. Right. I know you built a home down south,
right.
So you got some things going on. You think you'll be able to adjust and to take money out so you can enjoy yourself over however long you have on this earth, and balance out waiting for a rainy day, but also being able to fully enjoy the fruits of all this discipline you've had these many years? Yeah,
I think so. Especially when I look at my investments, and then I look at the gains I have on those investments. It's like, wow, there's a lot of capital gains on those on the money there. So it's something that taking money out as it continues growing, I don't foresee really ever having to struggle ever again in my life.
That's great.
And I'm hopefully that I'll be able to then leave some behind to some relatives, and hopefully get them started on the right track.
You're an American success story, and one of the things I wanted to talk about too is that I had an interesting vantage point with the kind of end of your career, because you were with a company for a long time. And by all accounts, it was fulfilling work. You enjoyed the work. You were well respected.
Right.
The company was successful. But then there was a significant corporate change that created a lot of stress. A lot of people were let go.
Correct.
As sometimes happened with corporate mergers, there's, casualties, if you will. Yeah. But there was a significant number of your employees at various age and different levels within the organization lost their jobs.
Right.
And a lot of them were hard hit. I know a lot of those people. You know them far better than I do. Good, hardworking people, and they got dealt a pretty bad hand. But one of the things that I want to model, and I think I want my clients to model, and people that are listening, is that through all of that chaos and tumultuous, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Who's going to be left? Who's going to be capped? All that stuff. You really didn't have a care in the world. Because you were of the right age.
Right, correct.
But then also, with this financial security you had built for yourself, it seems to me that one of the many payoffs to that discipline and that pay yourself first that we talked about is through all of that, you were just like, well, I'm fine no matter what happens.
Correct, yeah.
And that's a huge blessing.
It is a blessing. It is a blessing. But like I said, it's a blessing, but it comes with hard work and determination earlier in life. And that's what I try to tell anybody that I talk to that's younger, my nieces or nephews or whoever, about investing, is to to start saving when you're young, so that this way if the day comes when it happens to you, if whether it's a job change or merger or eventually retirement, you have something to live off.
Yes.
Right?
Now, I know one of your coworkers, and you may not even know this, was a few years younger than you, but was not financially secure, far from it. Mm-hmm. And that episode that you all went through was unbelievably stressful for him and for his family. And, losing a job is always scary. But when you get into your 50s and early 60s, boy, I don't want to be that vulnerable. I'm 48. I don't want to be that vulnerable ever, let alone when you think you're closing in on getting towards retirement. And I remember going into that office with a lot of craziness going on and a lot of fear going on. And you were one of the coolest, most chill people in the whole organization.
Well,
yeah.
You have to keep level-minded too, and stuff like that, and trying to keep your composure, and no matter what's being dealt to you, and you just try to work through it. And like I said, with the changes, there's a lot of employees there that came up and looked for advice from me.
Sure.
And I try to give them not so much advice, but told them what I did in my life, and what I'm doing now, and what I would do in the future, and hopefully that helps them along with their struggles that they might be having.
But it's notable that you're very humble when it comes to that stuff. You're successful. You've made lots of good decisions. You've also educated yourself. I wouldn't say that you're immersed in, the deep, dark recesses of investments and stuff like that. But you know your stuff. But you don't go around in, a braggadocious way, or like, hey, let me tell you what you ought to do. If people come to you, you'll be very open.
Yeah, I'll be open with them. Yeah.
But you're not a bull in a china shop.
No, not at all. Yeah. Right.
So you mentioned kind of, what did you say, keep your cool or keep your composure. Right. So one of the things as we kind of move towards the end of this interview is that from investing, you have a good knack of doing what the books and textbooks say you ought to do, which is to have a long-term perspective and to be unemotional. And we've had conversations over the years when the market was doing very bad and when the market was doing very well, and everything in between, but you always keep your composure.
Right.
Very unemotional, and I imagine that served you very well in building wealth and capturing good long-term investment returns. Where does that come from?
That's a good... again, it's just something that... hard to say, really. I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it was my upbringing with my mother. Having to keep fast with the fact that she's raising the 4 children, and her determination to stay with it, and etc. And I think maybe a lot has to do with that too. I think.
How much of it is you've described yourself to me as you're an optimist, just a sunny nature disposition.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And that if something bad happens in the market and maybe in other parts of your life, that you say, oh, that's okay, things will get better, or they'll improve, or I'll get through this.
Yeah.
But it's not this unemotional long-term perspective. It's not because you've done intense research and studied the market or investments for 100 years worth of history.
No, not at all. I mean, just over the years that I've been investing, I mean, I've seen the market going up and I've seen it going down quite a bit. And when the last one hit back in
2008, 2009, the Great Recession.
If I looked at my paper loss, it's like, wow, but that's just paper loss. I'm not touching it. I'm not going to withdraw it. And if I withdraw it, yes, I would have had a big loss. Stood with it, and I almost tripled my money since then, just by virtue of staying in the market and writing it out.
Sure.
And that means a lot.
It does. And what I think the lesson for me and for listeners too is not only did you stand with it, but you were a cool customer through it also.
Right,
There are some people that were like sleepless for months on end and completely stressed out, and then they were proven right too. Right. But you got the best of the both worlds because you were
not really shaken.
Right.
Not really shaken. knowing that gone to, back in '88 there was the
market crash in '87.
So I rode through that too, and knowing that
and the tech wreck in 2000, and the sell-off after September 11, 2001 attacks. Right. So there's lots of episodes.
There's a lot of episodes, and that like I said. So you came through that, and you're going to come through something else, and something else is going to come down the road eventually too. And just got to stay with it and be optimistic that it's going to be fine.
So the final question I have, and if you've been listening, I kind of have a feeling I know what the answer is, but I want to ask anyway. What advice would you give to a college graduate or somebody that's early in their career about money and building wealth? What would your advice be?
Well, like I said, pay yourself, but start investing as soon as you can. If you're working for a company that participates in a 401, do it. I don't care if they don't even match your money. Just put that money aside, because that means so much. And I think that an individual just starting off, get diversified, in this stuff. Of course, when you're first getting into the business as far as investing in that, you won't have a lot of money, but as you build your wealth, get diversified in different programs, different means of the market, so that this way you'll be able to ride through the storms when they do hit.
Beautiful. Very well said. I know this has been in the works for a while. I'm so glad we finally did it. It was great. I appreciate you sharing with me and the listeners, so thanks very much.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of SagePoint Financial Incorporated and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. No strategy can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Please note, the information being provided is strictly as a courtesy. When you link to any of the websites provided here, you are leaving this website. We make no representation as to the completeness or accuracy of the information provided at these websites, nor is the company liable for any direct or indirect technical or system issues or any consequences arising out of your access to your use of third-party technologies, websites, information, and programs made available through this website. When you access one of these websites, you are leaving our website and assume total responsibility and risk for your use of the websites you are linking to. Securities and advisory services are offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Insurance services offered through Elliott Wealth Management, LLC, not affiliated with SagePoint Financial.
Simply Financial is part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can find Exvadio podcasts at exvadio.com/podcast, the Apple Podcasts app, iTunes Store, iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you find podcasts. So join us and stay informed and entertained.